The new Pokemon game, Pokopia, just came out, and I've been having a lot of fun playing it, whether I'm spamming through Tangrowth's exposition or powering on street lamps with Pomni. Exactly 2 thoughts keep crossing my mind while I'm playing. I wish I had more bag space, and hey, wait a minute, what's that doing there? What I really like about this soundtrack is how it takes the simple earworm melodies of Gen 1 Pokemon, plays them with a kind of Animal Crossing-esque toy ensemble, and then just reharmonizes the absolute hell out of it. So of course, we have to talk about this, but I admit I am getting distracted just absolutely styling on the Zorua and Prop Hunt. Before we talk about the wacky reharms in Pokopia, first a word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by boot.dev. I love video games, and if you're watching this video, you probably like video games too. If you've ever wanted to learn how to make your own games, boot.dev is the place to do it. You can learn how to program in Python, JavaScript, and many other languages, all through engaging video game-themed courses. From learning about variables by fixing bugs in player health calculation, to tracking your progress by completing quests and earning achievements, everything is designed to keep you engaged and learning through a fun process. Because boot.dev and I agree, learning doesn't have to be boring, and video games are a great medium to learn in. You're still learning real-world back-end developer skills that translate into a wide variety of careers, hobbies, or just fun side projects. The community is great as well. The boot.dev Discord server has tons of programmers of all skill levels who can help you if you ever get stuck, if you want to just share ideas, or just receive support on your programming journey. It's super easy to get started with a free demo of the interactive experience on every course and a 30-day no questions asked money-back guarantee. Go to boot.dev and use my code CadenceHera to get 25% off your entire first year on the annual plan. Link is in the description. In this video, we'll talk about 3 different levels of reharms across the soundtrack, loosely ordered by complexity, but mostly by how much I like it. So I guess we'll just hop right into it. Despite the general harmonic complexity of the mainline Pokemon games, all of the iconic themes from Red and Blue actually feature very simple harmony, usually just a 1 to 5 to 1 kind of thing. But of course, the simpler the harmony, the more space we have to reharm, especially given these kind diatonic melodies. Before we take a look at some of these reharms, since the game just came out, I will give a mild spoiler warning for mild early game spoilers, plus some music spoilers, of course. Alright, so at certain points you hear arrangements of various town themes from Pokemon Red and Blue. The Saffron City theme we just heard is one such theme, receiving a more laid-back arrangement with more interesting harmonic development. The A section starts with a very simple reharm. Our original featured a 1 to 5 to 5 to 1 chord progression, and we pretty much just keep that same structure, just voicing our 5 chord in a cool or hybridized way. And changing our prior redundant 5 to a 2 instead, voice leading into that nicely by using this E7 chord. We do get a bit of spice with this E-flat major 7 that falls into our 5 to start the next phrase, played over this Pokemon Center healing motif we hear a lot in the soundtrack. The next phrase is pretty similar, but the B section diverges quite a bit more from the original. This B section is kind of weird. The harmony has convincingly modulated us to our new key of C major, but the melody continues as expected in our original key of G major, at least for the first 5 notes. It's this trippy effect where the keys of our melody and harmony are mismatched in a sense, which resolves a bit once we hit this F. The melody diverges further from the original by taking this figure and moving it downwards, changing it slightly each repeat to match the funny harmony. Said harmony kind of cycles down the circle of fifths until we hit this E flat, giving us this stream of ambiguity until our C brings us back. Then the A flat gives us this warm pivot chord to take us back to G major for the following section. We come back to our A section melody, but now with this 4, 4 minor, 3 minor, 5 of 6 chord progression, a variation of the classic Royal Road. The rest of the harmony is pretty straightforward, save for some fun dominance. This B-flat augmented 7 serves to take us down to the following A, and also serves as a nice bridge for this bass movement, which moves chromatically down from C. Then of course, the legendary Blackadder chord, also serving as a sub-5 that takes us into C. I like how this section takes our simple 2-5-1 chord progression and adds some complexity with the inner voices, giving us these colorful hybrids for a bit more spice. Overall, a wonderful level 1 style reharm. It preserves most of the harmonic structure of the original, but adds a lot more power by utilizing the circle of fifths, secondary dominants, and sub-5s. A kind of jazzier arrangement that matches the environment, a more fragmented civilization with wackier characters. And in a more meta sense, low-key similar kind of harmony you hear in Animal Crossing's hourly themes. This would be the time to talk about the level 2 song, but while writing this, I actually heard another town theme that was worth talking about, especially since it addresses a topic we'll see in a later theme. Let's take a listen to the first part of the Fuchsia City Night Rain theme. Melody mostly adheres to the original and the harmony isn't anything super special, but I love this voicing of the first arpeggiated F chord. We hit root 11 third and then down for the 5th, giving us this wonderful voicing of a major chord with the sus4 or 11 on bottom and 3rd on top. The reason why I think this is so notable is because typically the 3rd and sus4 in a major chord are mutually exclusive. A big reason for this is because if you try to have both, you run into some crunchy dissonances, especially unbecoming of our 1 chord. 3rd and sus4 next to each other gives us this crunchy minor 2nd. And throwing the 11th on top as a tension creates this nasty minor 9th between our 3rd and 11th. But the secret and relatively uncommon technique to have both is seen here, throwing our 3rd on top as a tension of sorts, while keeping the sus4 between the root and 5th. It's because of this that I like to label these kinds of voicings as sus4 with tension 10, to distinguish them from the more dissonant major 11 or add 4 style. Ultimately, the chord symbol doesn't really matter, but it is cool to see this style of voicing used. In fact, this 3rd over 4th kind of thing appears quite a few times in the soundtrack, including a tune we'll see a bit later. It is always fun to see composer sensibilities, like Yes Queen play that sus4 10 on native instruments una corda in literally every track. Nobody can stop you. But alright, our level 2 reharm can be heard in the Pokémon Center theme. about this reharm is how linear the build is. The A section harmonically is almost the exact same as the original, honestly nothing to even really talk about. The B section is similarly simple, kind of outlining a standard 1-2-5-1 chord progression for each phrase, but giving us some light inversion through the bass movement. But there's also some light embellishment at the end of each phrase. The flat 2 gives this punchy burst of color. And once again in the next phrase where we go between the D, E flat, and D. What I love is how that E flat chord just completely disregards the melody. If we hear it as a vertical slice, the melody over top creates some nasty, nasty dissonances. But this chord is really just a fun passing chord. It works as a reharm because we don't dwell on it. After resolving to D, we go back to the A section but with a more interesting harmony. Definitely a lot spicier. We start on the 4 and get another Royal Road variation. I am a huge sucker for this part. I honestly laughed so hard when I heard it. This classic walk down into the 2-5 of 4 is a huge staple in the Just the Two of Us chord progression, which this phrase kind of approximates. It's a huge cliche, especially in more J-pop, K-pop settings, and getting jump scared by this in the comfy Pokemon game was so funny. Okay, but anyways, the next phrase ditches this whole Royal Road / Just the Two of Us idea and gives us this thing where the bass starts on E, our 2nd scale degree, and then walks up to A, our 5th scale degree. The chords are mostly diatonic, despite all being inverted, until we get here. After a 5, we step up into our flat 6, flat 7, the Mario resolution. But we have this A pedal, giving this kind of a disparate sound, the 5 underneath with the 6, 7 on top. This resolves back up to D for our final B section before the loop. Kind of reverse the direction of the bass from the previous phrase, stepping down from D to C to B. Then we get another Mario resolution, but with this wacky B-flat augmented major 7. The final phrase before the loop winds down the harmonic complexity, doing another step up thing from D to A, then all diatonic chords, except for this last B-flat over C, kind of as a nod to the ends of the prior 2 phrases. A lovely level 2 kind of reharm, and as I said before, a wonderful example of a reharmonization that starts simple but slowly increases in harmonic complexity. Narratively, the funnier harmony kind of makes sense for the same reason as the earlier town theme reharms. The Pokemon Center, normally the place of comfort and healing, has been reinterpreted by the Pokemon living in this deserted world. Now you get to use the 3D printer to make more copies of the Froggy Chair, or peruse Hoppip's Etsy store of Hoppip-themed items. For our final tune, we have the theme that plays when you encounter a legendary Pokemon. The tune starts out very chordal, giving us these 4th stacks that move up and down every so often. It's a clever expansion of the original, which kind of did the same with these foreboding 4ths and 5ths. In the Pokopia version, we have this extra note in the stack played by viola, functionally giving us the sus2 of our chord, which adds a bit more bite and color to this otherwise open voicing. At this point in the game, this is notably the only minor key tune you would hear, and that 2nd goes a long way in really selling the sheer intimidation as Kyogre rolls up to the function, absolutely mogging your gaggle of unevolved, no Eviolite having suboptimal nature 0 IV plebs, especially that fraud Professor Tangrowth. Not you though, Mosslax, my beloved. Okay, but anyways, after this, the violins play a short melodic line as the winds take over the staccato hits. Before the violins come in, we get this intriguing chord, a quarterly voiced stack of D, G, and C sharp. On paper, this chord looks like the rare D major 7 sus4 without the 5th, but I would argue that it doesn't function like that. In our key of D minor, it's hard to hear this chord as the intermittent tonic major chord. Instead, I hear the G and C sharp as the 7th and 3rd of A7, our much more expected 5 chord, especially given it's placed at the end of the section and resolves expectedly to R1. But we have two problems with calling this an A7 chord. We have both the sus4 and 3rd in the chord, and there's no A. The former problem can be explained as the same thing we saw in Fuchsia City. We can call this an A7 sus4 10. And since there's no root, we can also amend a no 1 to this. At least, that's what I would say. Despite believing in this with all my heart, the backlash I've received for posting this was immense, both from commenters and those close to me. And I folded immediately. I dropped the controversial no 1. The thing is, if we wanted to call this the analogous C-sharp diminished chord, we would have to call it something like C-sharp diminished no 3rd over D. And personally, I think the voicing of the C-sharp over the G is important and needs to be specified, so this nomenclature also has its flaws. I think in a music theory context at least, chord symbols should generally be written so as to not obfuscate function. But ultimately, I think this is just one of the shortcomings of chord symbols. They are shorthand, and functional meaning and spelling sometimes will be lost. Honestly, I'm not sure why I'm dying on this hill. I think I just love using my videos to launder my controversial music terminology and nomenclature that occasionally comes to me in a dream. But anyways, moral of the story is, don't get too hung up on the chord notation. The important takeaway is that this chord functions as a funny, ambiguous dominant that serves to take us into our tonic. The following section mostly adheres to the original harmonically, with these imposing chordal and quintal figures. This piece has 3 parts. Everything we just heard loops until you speak to the legendary Pokemon and tell them about the problem your town is facing, at which point we move into a nearly identical loop but with a rather different ending. Just a straight-up jazz turnaround, we cycle down the circle of fifths with this funny F minor chord in B flat 7. It's cool to see the roots and qualities remain mostly the same as the first time, but changing the B-flat to dominant 7, breaking out of the chordal voicings, and adding this F minor 6 beforehand just has so much color, especially compared to how open the voicings were earlier. And this kind of quirkiness really scores the moment well. A fearsome cry beckons you forth, and when you finally confront this mythical creature, it turns out they're actually just a goofy, chill guy who wants to help you with your errands. Thanks for picking up my dry cleaning, shiny Galarian Zapdos.
Nah man, it's tight. Wanna play some RuneScape?
Let's get that spice yummy!
After they agree to solve your dilemma, the track moves to the final loop, with an interesting deceptive resolution after the funny chords. Rather than fall down to D from the E flat, the final loop actually steps up to the extremely bright E minor 7, technically from sharp vertex if you're an axis interchange believer. But it also serves the dual function as a bright 2 chord, which we expect to go to 5 to take us back to the 1. And there's a third function, because after hanging on this E for a bit, with those occasional A's, it actually feels like E is our new temporary 1, putting us in a kind of shimmery Dorian space. This loops until the legendary Pokemon finishes helping us, at which point we play a final stinger to conclude the song. This last part is wild. The melody is the same as the prior 2 versions, but the harmony has changed once again. We feel like we're shifting back to our D minor-ish space, or as we'll soon see, our relative major of F. The chords are super colorful, and cycle down the circle of fifths as modal interchange, borrowing these chords from progressively darker modes. I'm particularly fond of this penultimate chord, with the woodwinds hitting this quarterly voiced upper structure just for one final nod to that idea we've seen throughout the tune. All of this crashes into our aforementioned relative major of F, but it's this bright, Lydian-flavored G over F that arpeggiates then fades. The crisis is solved, the environment level has increased, and our legendary Pokemon has returned from whence they came. Overall, a surprisingly complex soundtrack that manages to insert hilarious harmonies that feel distinct from other harmonically complex Pokemon games. I'm not even close to finishing the game yet, so if there are other cool tracks, post them in the comments. If you liked this video, smash that subscribe button, hit that bell, and consider joining my lovely Patreon supporters. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to playing Prop Hunt with Zorua. I'm currently disguised as a game of League of Legends before bed.